It's always great when you get a brand new team principal saying something like this, Tim Hauraney. I think watching Max Verstappen drive is history in the making, and it's kind of hard to deny him. Let's talk about, before I even ask my first question, Tim, who, by the way, it was at the United States Grand Prix, has just walked in his hotel room looking very tanned and a little pooped. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, a little bit of all of it, Adam. A little bit of all of it.
Max points deficit to Piastri. After the Netherlands, 104. After Monza, 94. After Azerbaijan, 69. And then it's 63. And as of today, Tim, it's 40 points between Max and Oscar Piastri with 5 races to go. There are exactly 4 drivers who are still in contention. 2 are McLaren, 1 is Mercedes, and 1 is the guy that everybody's watching. It's Max Verstappen. I don't know. Do you get a more perfect weekend? Is that even possible?
I don't think so. I mean, coming into this one, Adam, I believe someone's got to correct me with the mathematics, but Max would have had to average 10 to 12 points for the following Grand Prix for him to win the championship by Abu Dhabi. Now that's obviously changed because of what transpired not only on Saturday with the sprint race, but also on Sunday with the Grand Prix. He was incredible, man. Absolutely incredible.
Red Bull's not allowed to complain about sprint races anymore. Like, that's it. We're done now. We're done listening to this. Tim, how much of a sense, like you were down there, how much of a sense of impending doom is there surrounding the McLaren team, who, by the way, finished 3rd and 6th? Not a bad finish, but that's a good team finish. That's not a good I need to win the championship finish with the greatest driver of this generation bearing down on you. Do you get the sense that they're maybe a bit shook?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. I get the feeling that Max Verstappen is in their head. That's what I get from
Why do you
get
that feeling?
Because he smells blood in the water. Like they are using Oscar Piastri just as a reference point.
Yep.
And we should talk about him in a little more detail in a bit. But using him as a reference point, 2 races for him have been a disaster in the last 3 Grand Prix.
Yep.
And if you take a look at how Oscar Piastri has performed all season, he's been that cool, calm, collected customer that we've all been talking about, that has so much bandwidth, doesn't let stress get to him. But now we're seeing things that aren't really quite Oscar Piastri-like. Okay. I mean, in the sprint race on Saturday, there was the argument that was being made with some journalists that, well, Oscar should have given himself a bit more room and he should have been a little more careful because he is a championship leader. Part of me was understanding of that, but another part of me was like, look, there was a gap there. He went after Lando. He tried the up and under. I think it was a smart move by him. Hard to see where Hülkenberg is. He doesn't, have, a 360-degree eyeballs. And at the same time, you're in the racing moment, man. Like you are focused on the stuff ahead and you're hoping that the people behind you don't take you out. And that's all there is to it. You can't be looking and concentrating on what everyone's doing all around you all at the same time. So that was a racing incident. However, qualifying, on the other hand, was an absolute mess. It looks like his confidence is starting to go. And the team is running around scratching their heads about balance and trying to find what's the best balance for the car. Hearing from Andrea Stella post-qualifying on Saturday night, he was telling us about how the drivers were finding just the brakes, like getting into the brakes into heavy braking zones, how they couldn't really maximize the braking, their braking reference points because of how on the edge the car was with braking. And so for me, I mean, like that stuff usually should be sorted out before you get there, and it should be done in driver and loop simulator. You should have a fix for that. You're fighting for a championship, driver's titles. And so when you look at these 2 drivers, and Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, they haven't won an F1 World Championship before. They don't know what it's like. Andrea Stella does. Yep. He has that experience, but the rest of the team really doesn't, including the drivers. And when you look at Red Bull Racing, sort of put a bow on this whole thing, look at how much experience they have at winning championships and drivers' titles. Just because Christian Horner has left,
yep,
and there have been key personnel that have moved on and gone to different teams, doesn't mean the people who are currently there working doesn't mean they don't know how to win championships, because they do, because they have.
They did it.
And they've done it with this team, Adam. And that's why I'll tell you that Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing definitely in McLaren's head.
Yeah, and you know what, Tim? It's interesting because I think we talked about this a lot last year. And, we talked about the mistakes McLaren were making with their singular drivers, even though they were well on their way to winning a championship. And I said it a lot at the time, which was, you got to remember, they're going up against two teams that have championships recently and have a lot of the guys around from when they won championships. And that's Mercedes and, of course, Red Bull, who were the defending champion at that point. And McLaren were making mistakes that teams make when they haven't won, when the nerves are getting to them. And this is, something you see in all sorts of pro sports. And then once you get over the hump, some teams figure out, oh, that's how you do it. And they're able to repeat it. Red Bull obviously is one of those. Most of the Mercedes group is still there from when Lewis was winning all those championships. Not a lot of turnover there. Some major, departures like James Vowles, but you know what I'm saying. I think now McLaren has won a team championship. If they want to establish themselves as a dynasty, they must win this year. They must win. They must win. They must win the Drivers' Championship. And what's got to be scary if your McLaren leadership is, and Jenson Button touched on this after the race, Lando's looking like the stronger guy, and he's in second place. And he's 14 points out. You want your leader to be locked down, like you want your leader to be like Max. Lock it down the entire weekend. Team, lock it down the entire weekend. And even on weekends like this one, where we sort of knew McLaren they were not going to have a great car, right? We kind of knew that. Tim, there are things that just seem to happen to these guys that it's almost comedic. And I hate to put it that way. I'm a McLaren fan, but you look at what happened in the sprint race, and then you look at what happened, how Oscar qualified. I mean, he's just, at the end of the day, can be a million excuses and a million things that go wrong. But the question everybody's going to be left with is, did they win? Did you win? Yeah, but did you win? And these next 5 races are going to be era defining for both Max and for McLaren. And I listen, as much as I want McLaren to win, it's so great that we don't have a cut championship. Like it's so great that we've got so much more time before this is going to happen. I'm really excited.
Plus, we've got 2 sprint races to add on top of that. Yes. I think there's probably a total of 108 points up for grabs, I think, in and around there.
Yep.
I think when we, look at, Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing and what they've done over the last few races, I think a big part of it is, and we've talked about it before, this goes all the way back to Hungary, running experiments with their car, trying to make different setup changes to, and using Hungary as sort of that sacrificial lamb where they could test as many things as they could to rule things out. And when they came back from the summer break, it's been guns blazing. They brought that massive update to Monza, to the floor. That has helped. And then they bring another update to the front of the car in the front wing for Singapore, again, which all seems to work. And now Red Bull looks like they have a car that's going to be competitive at every single track from here on out. Because, Adam, Andre's still sitting there saying, well, Qatar, that's going to be a race weekend where, we should probably do well. And same with Brazil. And same with Abu Dhabi. Brazil, what happens if it rains?
Right.
What? Qatar, Max is going to be fast as hell in Qatar.
Yep.
What's going to happen to McLaren in Las Vegas? What's going to happen to McLaren in Mexico?
I'm scared. Like, you're asking a bunch of existential questions, Tim, that I just cannot answer. I don't know.
Those are going to be massive, they're all massive races, but races where if you're Oscar Piastri, if you're McLaren, if you're Lando Norris, you're going to have to try and find a way of stopping the bleeding.
Yep.
Because Verstappen smells blood in the water.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming for him. He now knows. He believes now, Adam. Before he didn't believe. Didn't believe. I spoke to Max Verstappen at the end of this race, and I said to him, Max, when you left Zandvoort, you were 104 points back in the Drivers' Championship battle. You're now 40 points back of Oscar Piastri.
Yep.
If someone were to have gone back and tell you in Zandvoort that in 4 races' time, you were going to be in contention for the Drivers' Championship, would you have believed them? You want to know what he said to me?
What did he say?
He said, I would have told that person they're an idiot.
Wow.
Now he believes. And now you got a driver that's doesn't have all the pressure on him. He really doesn't. He's the underdog.
Oh, man.
Piastri, Norris, they're the ones with the pressure.
Yep.
Max doesn't have pressure. He doesn't care. Right? He doesn't.
Yep.
Obviously, he wants to win a driver's title, and that means a lot to him. But at the same time, pressure's not on him.
Nope.
And that leads him to be like, if I win the championship, I mean, epic.
Yeah.
But I never was really in contention for it anyways. And now at the end of this USGP, he sees that I'm in contention for this thing. He's going to go to another level, man.
Yeah.
And we've seen him at some pretty high levels this season. He's got another one to go.
I'm freaked out.
You should be.
I'm freaked out, man.
You should be. If you're a McLaren fan, you should be. If you're an Oscar fan, you should be. If you're a Lando fan, you should be very worried because Max Verstappen's coming for you.
I feel like too, Tim, like this is the thing. The issue is that if McLaren has so much to lose here, right? If they drop this, it will be amongst, if not the most talked about terrible fall off we've ever seen.
It'll be the biggest, probably be the biggest cough up, choke job, whatever you want to call it, meltdown in the sports history. It would be the biggest comeback in the sports history. It would solidify, Red Bull Racing is one of the greatest teams of all time, and it would solidify Max Verstappen as one of the greatest drivers ever. Just think about this turnaround.
Yep.
Like, for those of you who are new to F1 or you've been in F1 for, a couple years, 4 years, 5 years, I've been in it and around it and seen it, smelt it, dealt with it since I was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. I have never seen anything like this. Ever. This is massive, man. Like, it is massive what this guy is doing.
Oh my God.
And when we, dig into this, even more, McLaren not being able to run that sprint really affected them. That really hurt them. It hurt them so much for the race. Not understanding the tire enough, not understanding what the conditions and how the setup affects the tire because of the conditions. And when they came into the race on Sunday, we were, I shouldn't say we, but we were expecting more of a fight than what we saw. Now, I think some thought that the tire dag was going to favor McLaren, and it didn't. It favored Red Bull, favored Max. And that's not their bag, man. That's McLaren's. Again, throw in here, they didn't get the data that they needed from the sprint because obviously they had crashed out, both drivers.
Right.
Red Bull was working away at a setup from sprint to quali that they were trying to predict where the wind and the wind conditions were going to be coming from, how strong it was going to be, and how much it was going to affect the tire, how much it was going to affect the car, and in relation, driver's confidence, tire degradation. And they had just tweaked and tweaked and tweaked and tweaked and tweaked until they found something that they thought, hey, you know what? This might work for the race on Sunday because we're going to have a really strong crosswind. And we think with this setup, that's going to give Max the most confidence to go out, push, and get the result.
Right.
So they weren't sure, like, are we going to be competitive in Sector 1? Are we going to have an advantage going down the back straightaway? I mean, Red Bull Racing didn't really know. Like, they just didn't. But they came into it aggressive, guns blazing, like always. Max had a really great opening stint. I think that really helped him a lot. Obviously, Charles and Lando, that helped him carve out a bigger gap. However, there was no way Lando Norris was catching Max Verstappen today.
No, and it wasn't even like a thought or a consideration.
No, it wasn't even close.
That's the crazy part here. Like,
Not even close.
Man, okay. Well, I mean, Tim, I don't know what else we can say other than it's going to be theater. It's going to be unbelievable.
Well,
and I'm curious to see how McLaren reacts because I think the ball is now in their court.
Yes, absolutely. And going to Mexico, again, that's probably not going to be, that's going to be Red Bull territory. Honda power unit probably as well. That's going to favor it a little more than it does the Mercedes at the same time. And this is going to be a weekend where I feel Oscar Piastri is going to have to, start chipping away and getting that confidence to come back, get a good rhythm, get back on a roll again.
So how do we do that? How do we get him there?
Man, it comes down to car balance. They got to start giving him something he can work with. The thing is, McLaren hasn't updated this car since, oh man, I can't even remember. It's been a while since they've put any updates on this car, where if you look at the likes of, Mercedes, they brought some tweaks and things here. Red Bull obviously brought some updates, brought some big ones too that have really worked out. You're seeing other teams that are starting to bring little, bips and bobs here. Yeah. And McLaren haven't done anything to their car. They haven't brought any updates to keep the performance coming where Red Bull Racing has. They've been aggressive in that way. And they've also been able to understand when they bring a certain component to the car, it is going to work. And so that makes them even more dangerous now, coming down the road. I think Max is probably going to be one of the favorites in every single race here on out. And for Piastri, he knows that. And he's going to have to figure out how to overcome it. And like I said, stop the bleeding, whatever he can do to stop the bleeding. This isn't the first time Oscar Piastri's been in a driver's championship battle where, his lead was starting to dwindle and wear away. I mean, F3, when he won that championship, he just won that championship. So here we are. And can he lean on that experience from winning the F3 championship title, winning the F2 championship title, both done in different ways? Can he lean into that and have that confidence, knowing that he can, hey, look, I've been in tight situations, different points in my career. This is the biggest stage I've ever been on, and I probably will ever be on when it comes to racing. I think I need to lean on this past experience that I have so I can summon some performance, because I did ask him about that. I said, look, like, you've been in some like dogfights. Like, can you lean on any of your past experiences? And he's like, I take a look at my Formula 2 title, in particular my Formula 3 title, which I just won. He's like, and I'm going to have to, like, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm going to have to lean on those experiences to try and win this title. Like, he understands he's a championship leader. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, Adam, when you see like championship, when like Lewis Hamilton would finally sink his, jaws or teeth into a championship lead. Yeah. You knew it wasn't going anywhere.
And he locked it down, right?
Yeah.
He locked it down, which is what McLaren hasn't done.
You see that with Max too, right?
Yeah.
When Max like really, I mean, 2021 was one thing, but everything out of there, like as soon as he just sinks his teeth into it, it's not going anywhere.
So, I mean, okay, you're Zach Brown. What are you talking to Andrea Stella about tonight?
I think they need to figure out and have a good conversation at how they can try and get a little more performance, considering the fact that they haven't brought anything to the car. And at the same time, try and get the drivers, including specifically Oscar, a little more comfortable.
Okay.
Try to find the right balance. And I think everybody back at the factory, everyone in Driver Loop Simulator, everyone who's working on potential setups for this car for next races, that's 24/7 here on out.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it's gonna take. You've got Red Bull Racing who have, Max is the heart of the program. Mm-hmm. Everything revolves around the heart of the program, and the car obviously being the program itself.
Yep.
And Max being the one who is in charge of that. He is pushing them behind the scenes. Like, it's not like he just gets in the car, goes out, does the deep, like he is pushing them. Like he is, let's try this. Let's do this. What do we think about this? What do we think about that? One of the things from Max is, learning how setups work, learning how setups affect a car, learning that stuff from his dad.
Yeah.
That is stuff that he uses, man. Like he uses that. He's almost like engineering brain as well. And he sits down with these engineers and he's combing over data, man. Like he's going over it. Hey, what if we did this to the ride height here? What if we did this to the wing here? Well, let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens. And that's what they're doing, man. Like they are literally revolving around everything and everything Max says.
Well, I mean, all the power to them. And it just goes to show what a formidable group this Red Bull, group is. We don't know what next year looks like. All that matters is the next 5 races. This is the last 5 before this regulation change. McLaren better step up and do something, right? It better step up and do something. Now, Tim, I have to switch this to Ferrari because I need to know if a 3rd and a 4th finish is enough for Ferrari to go 1 week without a bunch of rumors. About somebody, Christian Horner coming in, people getting fired, Lewis Hamilton talking about it and not actually saying, no, I think Christian Horner would be bad and he shouldn't come in and whatever. Like, Tim, where do we stand with Ferrari? Are they feeling good finally?
It was funny. I was in the press conference and I had asked Max my question. But I was going to ask Charles, like, hey, because of this weekend that you've had, and from what I've been seeing, does it feel like you're finally understanding and making gains with the car, even though it's taken this long? And that's a question I really want to put to him. Yeah. Because I felt with this weekend, Adam, I think you probably saw it as well, where it was like, it started off as a pretty bad, but it evolved. The weekend evolved for them. And they took some risks. I think the soft tire, starting Charles Leclerc on that, was a gamble.
Yep. And
not many did it. And I think for Charles, it really paid off. And he had a great start. He got the position he needed to execute, right? He needed to get in front of Lando to have a chance at securing P3.
Yep.
And he did. He accomplished that goal. I think he was probably the only one outside. Well, I would say him and Lance were the ones who made that soft tire program work the best. I think Lance was probably the best at that today, but Charles was a close second, and he did what he needed to do to allow himself an opportunity at a podium, because once he was able to switch over to the medium tire, you kind of just knew, like, hey, this guy's laughing all the way to the bank now because he's going to be back up in P2. Lando's going to have to try and work his way around him. And for Charles, hey, yeah, he's probably going to have to give up P2, but he's getting a podium. And at the beginning of the weekend, I think if you were to ask him that, he probably would have said no chance. So they have unlocked a bit of potential in this car. I mean, hearing from Lewis on Saturday, sounded like the car was a bit of a handful coming into qualifying, but the more that they tweaked different wing setups and moved that through qualifying, the more the car started to come towards Lewis. And if you look at how Lewis performed in the race, I mean, he actually had a really good race. Like, this was a good weekend, I think, for him. Good learning experience for him and the team working together. I think it was a positive weekend for Ferrari as a whole, instead of it being so doom and gloom. And
it's nice. It's a nice change. I almost get tired of it, right?
Right. Like, oh, Christian Horner's coming in to replace Frederick Vasseur. It's like, well, no, he's not. But yes, I mean, there's also rumors. Like, this is more rumors. Yeah. Like, John Elkann even had to put out a statement at him. Like, I read it on, I read the statement on yesterday's pod, on Saturday's post-qualifying podcast. And Elkann's literally like, I'm paraphrasing, hey, Frederick Vasseur's our guy. He's going to be our guy. We're going to focus on our team. Like, enough.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Enough of this crap.
Yeah. So for Ferrari, I mean, it'd be good to see them try to keep this momentum going. I think it would be positive for them to end the last, 5 races of this championship in a good place to allow themselves to have good momentum heading into 2026.
Yep.
Because, I mean, like on Thursday, Adam, when Charles Leclerc came in to do his press conference, like,
it feel a little rough?
It was rough, man. He looked exhausted, and like the weekend had just started.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad for him.
But it's funny,
dude.
if you stick with it throughout the weekend, like those Friday press conferences, like, oh no, look where, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually, no, it's not so bad. Like you kind of, they do get there sometimes, and they're able to turn it around over the course of the weekend. And I think those weekends are some of the most impressive. Now, I got to ask you about an incident that happened in this race that everybody's making a big deal of, and I actually do think this is a bigger deal than people are giving it credit for. The driver only finished 17th, but Franco Colapinto,
I knew you were
Franco Colapinto was told to hold behind Pierre Gasly because they were managing their tires. And Franco did not hold. And I'm just wondering, Tim, is the team upset about that?
If I'm Franco Colapinto, I could give a rat's ass if they are.
Okay.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
He doesn't know what his future is yet.
No. Could
go either way. Could be on the team, could be not on the team. And I think if you're Flavio Briatore, you don't want a driver who's passive.
No.
Right? You want a driver who's going to be aggressive. And if that means you got to break a little bit of team orders here and there to get it done, you're probably going to get a gold star from the guy. And I think Franco, even though he didn't obey team orders, in my opinion, he did the right thing. I would have done the same thing. I would have sent it down the inside of Gasly as well and seen what happened. Because
and he finished more than 10 seconds ahead of Gasly.
Of course. And so it's like you don't even know what your future holds. I mean, you're not going to be passive and just sit back and let it, do everything you can to get the best result for yourself that you can. And if you can beat your teammate, go for it.
Right. Okay. All right. I wondered about that because I thought, you know what? Like, there are two ways to look at it. And when I think about Franco's future, you want to know that even though he's really had the crap kicked out of him this year, like there's just no other way to say it. Like, last year was so much positive momentum driving in that Williams after, Logan Sargent went out. It's been interesting to see his star fade, and it shows you how quickly it can happen. And I think in this particular instance, it was nice to see that aggressiveness because that's ultimately what got him here. And so, I know Alpine might be considering Yuki Tsunoda, who had a good race, and I want to talk about him next. Franco at least has got to be aiming for some sort of reserve driver role, I have to think.
Oh, boy. That may be even tough, Adam. I think, his sponsors are probably paying a good penny for him to be in the car right now. I don't know. Do you think they would stick around for a reserve driver role and maybe a smaller space on the car? That's the thing. Like
Argentinians are very proud of their guys, right?
Oh, there's no question about that. I'm not questioning that whatsoever. I'm questioning the fact that it's like, I want my driver to be in the car. Like I want him to be in the Grand Prix on the track, like scrapping and fighting. Yep. I don't want him in the garage watching FP1 on a little screen. Back of a garage somewhere. I want him on the track. This is the only seat that's available for him. There is nowhere else for him to go. They haven't made that decision on whether or not it's going to be Franco, Paul Aaron, could be somebody else. And I think if Franco can, have these performances where, yes, it's whatever, P17, P16, as long as he's beating Gasly or he's like a few tenths or a tenth off of Gasly in qualifying, then I think that would be enough for him to argue for that seat. And today, making a move like that is that argument, right? It's like,
yep.
Hell no, I'm not going to stay back here. Why would I do that? There's no way. Gasly's not fighting for a driver's title. The team is not finishing, the team is not winning a constructors championship. Hulkenberg, who I believe it was, who was behind them, he's obviously they're not fighting over first place. Yeah, of course. You're gonna take the position for don't listen to team orders at this point. It's no way.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
And with Yuki Tsunoda, he got into a little bit of a dust up with Oliver Behrman, and all he said, listen, that's not I always love when drivers do this. That's not how we want young karting drivers to look up to us. And I have to tell you, I found it to be sort of a funny comment, but I wondered what you thought about the incident, because to me it looks like Yuki Tsunoda's fighting for his life too.
Yeah, definitely. I was with Laurent Mekies at the end of this race and his press conference. He was, telling us, I'm paraphrasing here, not a stellar weekend from Yuki. I think he was 50 seconds probably off of Max, I think, or something like that at the end of this one. So that's a lot. And when we take a look at what his future is going to be when the car is improving, yet he has up and down weekends, he's not helping his chances.
Yeah.
Qualifying, I think, for Yuki was, I think it could have gone a lot better if he hadn't had so much traffic. And that really killed his race on Sunday. I still thought he drove well in the race, Adam, to get points and come home with a good, a strong finish for himself, considering where he started. But if he were able to qualify a little bit higher, let's say he doesn't get some traffic from the Alpine in his final push lap in Q2, does he, if he were to get through to Q3, which he believed that he could have.
Yep.
And let's say he starts P8, then at that point, you're talking a different game at that point. You're talking maybe this guy can fight for P5, P6.
Which would be very cool. Now, I wonder, Laurent Mekies has some pretty good experience with Yuki. I know he wasn't with the junior team at Red Bull for very long, but he knows Yuki. And would have been aware when Yuki was getting promoted earlier this year and all that stuff. It's hard to imagine. Liam Lawson started this year in a Red Bull car. Isn't that crazy to think? It's been one of those years. There's been so much that's happened. Is there any chance he maybe sticks around? Is there any chance that Laurent goes, I know this guy well enough and I like him, and he's been putting in good results lately?
Yeah, I think
he'll stay in Formula One, right?
There's so many moving chairs going on there. You still have Lindblad. Does Helmut want to bring him up? And you got to remember, it's not really all Mekies' decision now, right? Helmut is going to have a lot of the decisions here when it comes to the driver lineup for next season. Is Hajar the driver you want to usher into that second seat at Red Bull? Does he even want it? I mean, he probably won't have a choice. And then what do you do with Yuki? What do you do with Liam? What do you do with Lindblad? And I think for Red Bull, you can't. I think Lindblad's very talented, and I don't think you can leave him on the sidelines for a year. I think he does need to be in the seat. He probably will be in the Racing Bull seat, and so that leaves that extra seat up for grabs between Liam and Yuki. And we've talked about it before with Nelson, and you and I have talked about it just separately on the show, and it's going to come down to those two. I mean, when qualifying was going on yesterday, I mean, believe it was Lawson who had held up Yuki in one of his push laps.
Yep.
Whether or not Lawson knew he was there,
that was not well received. Shockingly,
no, yeah, but it's little things like that, right? So,
okay, this is a fascinating time of year because there's so much that's basically undecided at this point. I'm curious about how a lot of this goes. And I want to move now to, Nico Hülkenberg, who had a really good weekend. Obviously, Zach Brown got mad at him earlier on because of what happened with Oscar and Lando, but then retracted the statement saying, hey,
yes,
I had another look. That's not really what happened. How do you account for, let's talk about some old man power. Nico Hülkenberg and Fernando Alonso finishing, 8th and 10th, getting points on the board. Fernando especially said that his luck meter on Saturday, he's like, is at a 0 and I'm recharging for 2026. And here he is getting points the next day. Like that's vintage Fernando Alonso. These guys, let's talk about their races, not the best cars, but they're still finding ways to squeeze blood from a stone.
100%. I felt that we'll start with Hülkenberg. I mean, yeah, having such a crap sprint race and the way it finished for him, and his bounce back, I thought was, really, really positive. His qualifying, I felt was decent. Mm-hmm. I think he was able to execute and pull as much out of that car as he could. And when you're when you're in a situation where you're not sure, how do I put this? When you're not sure that how your weekend is going to end up, mm-hmm. but you just sort of throw it down on the line like Hülkenberg did this weekend, you kind of wonder, or at least I do, where that's been for some other races. Because he was, balance was where he needed it to be with the car. Yeah, car was in the right place, and then you see what happened with Bortoleto. I mean, he had a shocking weekend from Gabriel Bortoleto. Yeah, you kind of wonder, hey, where's this guy been? Yeah, this was an impressive weekend from Hülkenberg. It's one of those drives where you're kind of it's okay. The guy did what he needed to do, and it wasn't anything impressive. But as a driver, you're inside the car in qualifying to try to get P11. You're hustling the hell out of this thing. You're driving to your maximum to pull out the performance from the car, and then in the race you're executing on your tire strategy, you're keeping the tire alive, and you're doing everything the team is asking you to do, and you come away with a decent result, good points. Then you kind of have to wonder hey, there's going to be tracks where this car is going to be good, there's going to be tracks where they're not going to be good. However, every track where they look like they've been sort of right there, which was this weekend, most of the time they've been able to come away with some pretty good results. And so, I'm looking forward to what this team is going to evolve into next season, and seeing where and what not only himself but Bortoleto do.
As am I. And I wonder, Tim, in terms of drivers market signings, dollar for dollar, is Nico Hülkenberg the best value signing a team made last year? And I include Lewis Hamilton in that. In terms of expected results versus actual results.
So who would be the who would be that like experienced veteran, just grinder in the NHL where you're just kind of like, oh yeah, he's great for this team. He's going to help them to get so far.
He just like he's going to.
Who would he be though?
You know who I compare it to, and Nico's not really a psychopath, but I don't know if you saw the Max Scherzer Blue Jays game.
Oh yeah,
where
I definitely saw it. I got the game on right now. I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah. Never stop being a fan. Never stop being a fan. No, I the reason I ask is that well, first off, I figured you were busy, working. But,
I have.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But the reason I bring Max Scherzer up is because Max Scherzer brings to the Blue Jays. Anybody not paying attention to what's happening right now? The Blue Jays are a young team.
Live in Europe because we have a lot of European listeners.
Yeah. So imagine baseball, it's a young team.
Major League
they're
Baseball.
They're in the playoffs, and they've got this old man who is a first ballot Hall of Famer, going to be enshrined forever. And he used to be the greatest pitcher in baseball, and he's fallen a bit. And this might be it. But he came out and he gave them a really strong half game where he is a psychopath. He's nuts. And I think you sort of need that old man. Don't worry, kids. I got it. And Nico's not really in your face with it, right? But there are times where I'm like, oh, there's a veteran. Today I felt like that. I was like, that is veteran driving by a guy who has been there before. He's got the podium under his belt this year, Tim. And I don't think Mr. Wheatley could have made a better call. Like that was a really, really strong signing.
Yeah, I loved it. I at the time when it happened, I was questioning.
Yep.
But this has worked out perfectly for them. And for those, we're talking about Max Scherzer at the moment. Like for those listeners in Europe, just Google his montage from. What day was it? Was it Thursday? Was it Thursday's game? I think it was Thursday or Friday's game or whatever. But like as soon as I saw that montage on social media, I was like, wow.
It's the best.
Oh, he's fired up. I was
it's the best. It's the best. The guy rocks. He's just so amazing. and Nico was like that, but Nico is more like cool as a cucumber.
Yes.
Gonna get it done. Not gonna make a lot of noise. Other than that one time he told Magnuson to suck his balls. Other than that, what has Nico Hulkenberg done to anybody?
We got quickly. Well, we got to talk about Fernando Alonso. So
yeah, give me Fernando.
I didn't
there's an old man. There's a Max Scherzer comparable.
Oh yeah,
Fernando's nuts in the best way.
In the best of ways.
Yeah,
just guy's a legend. He was saying, or he felt that they were probably the 8th slowest team again this weekend. I think for his qualifying performances, they've really gone unnoticed. Everyone's like, oh yeah, it's just Fernando qualifying 10th or whatever. I mean, the car really has no business being that high up.
No,
it really doesn't.
No.
This is a really tough car to drive and extract the performance from. And I felt that for Fernando to hang on to points, it was a really great job from him. The other Aston Martin driver and Lance Stroll, tough weekend. That move on Esteban Ocon was not on. And obviously he had the 5-place grid penalty.
Yep.
And then he had track limits in qualifying, and it just was sort of one of those things that just snowballed. This was a race where, again, people aren't going to, maybe some will, some won't, really pay attention just how good of a drive that was from Lance on the soft tire to take it as far as he did. He was over 30 laps on the thing, I believe it was, and to gain as many spots as he could with this car, so close to scoring some points too for the team. Like it was a really good bounce back from Lance in what was shaping up to be a horrible weekend.
Yeah.
I thought he turned it around. Like he did a really good job of taking something that was crap, and he turned it around for himself. And I think that's very important for him moving forward. And yeah, I thought it was a very good drive from him.
It's easy in a guy in his position, Fernando or Lance, to say like, who cares? It really is. It's an easy thing to do, but not for these guys. They're not.
You can't say that's right, Adam. Like it's just like, I mean, you can't.
It's easy to think it from our side. Is I suppose a better way to frame that.
It's like you can't take you can't sit on the bench and take a play off in hockey.
No.
I mean, some guys do, right? Like some guys come out and they loaf around on the ice.
Oh yeah, the Leafs have been doing it all season.
Sure.
just farting all over the ice, Tim.
But like not like massive like repercussions. You come out in the race car and you're just kind of you're not going to you have to you don't have a choice. Like in a race car, you have to extract every single ounce from the car and yourself. Everything. And if you don't, you're gone. It doesn't matter who owns the team. You will be gone. So yes, I mean, easy for people to sit there and say and look, but like these guys, all of these drivers out on the track are giving it everything that they have every time they are on the track.
Yep. I was really, really impressed. And lastly, I do want to talk Ollie Behrman because it was good for him to get back in the points there. How do you think that they look at specifically, obviously Haas, but also Ferrari? How do they look at his development? How do you think it's gone this year?
I think at the moment Ferrari's still kind of like it's that wait and see moment on what they actually have there with Oliver Behrman. I don't hear that they're super impressed with him, but I also don't hear that they're not impressed with him. For Haas this weekend, they had brought a pretty big update to the car.
Yeah,
I felt what was impressive was that in free practice 1, Ollie didn't get to run the new changes to the car. Esteban Ocon was the one who had all the new updates. So in free practice 1, it's a lot of track time. You get a better understanding for your updates, and you get a better understanding for the car and what it likes with these new updates. Mm-hmm. When you don't get that opportunity, and then all of a sudden you're put into like sprint qualifying. Okay, here are the new updates, and it's like go on out. That's really, really challenging to come to grips with because you're driving something that is totally different than what you're used to. Yep. So you got to get your confidence quick. And for Ollie he did just such a nice job of chipping away at that. I mean, he did have some moments throughout the weekend, but just chipping away, finding the confidence, exploring the new updates. And it really seemed to suit him. Like he was able to really be one with the car. And I don't think Esteban really felt that this weekend. Like he did look out of his element a little bit. And for Oliver, like he was the better driver this weekend out of the two of them. And I felt for Behrman, like if he can just understand what he did so right this weekend, try and gain some momentum with that, he's going to have a very strong end to this season. And then maybe Ferrari will be like, okay, yeah, all right, he's coming along. That's great. You know, things like that, right? And that's kind of like how the sport works.
You want to have a driver in your system, at least one that's putting pressure on the current drivers that you have. And I'm not seeing that from them. I'm seeing that from Red Bull, like Lindblad coming in, Hadjar potentially moving up. Like you see that constantly. Bortoleto, if he hadn't got in this year, he would have got in next year, right? Like McLaren had a guy who was maybe not going to pressure Lando and Oscar, but was there waiting in the wings. I'm just wondering, like, how's Ferrari feeling about that development program? I mean, they're Ferrari; they're always going to be able to attract the best drivers, but I still think that's important.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think Oliver is a driver that needs more experience. He needs a bit more time. He's not doing a bad job. I feel like Oliver actually is doing a very good job this season. Mm-hmm. But for Ferrari, it's hard as well when you've got like Lewis and you've got Charles, and like these are two like top tier elite drivers, and you can't just make a decision on one of them and be like, yeah, we're going to take Oliver Behrman from Haas and we're going to put him into the Ferrari. Like that's
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, man, that is a tough decision to make, which they won't, and they shouldn't. And Oliver should stay, and he is staying down at Haas for another season, maybe even 3 seasons in total, I feel.
Yeah.
But he's not a bad talent. Like he actually, there's a lot of promise there, and I think he could turn out to be a great driver, man.
Yeah. Well, I think I think that you look at how it benefited George Russell at Williams, right?
Yeah,
He
good
came
point.
in and he outperformed. I hate to say this, but he outperformed Lewis from the minute he got there in terms of total results.
Yeah, he did.
He did. Like, there's just no other way around it. He was ready, and you always say this, Tim. Give them 3 years. If they truly have talent, give them 3 years. Let them develop. Let them cook. And actually, that kind of dovetails and lines up perfectly with what probably will be the end of Lewis Hamilton's stint with Ferrari if it lasts beyond this season, which it will.
It will.
You know what I mean? Like it's Oliver could be ready and willing. So, or if if rumors are to be believed, so could Oscar Piastri.
For sure. Well, yeah. I mean, again, right? Like we don't know, Adam. Like
we don't know.
We don't know how long Lewis is going to stay there. We don't know if the car is going to be competitive next season. We don't know what Oliver is going to be like next season. We don't know what Charles is going to be like next season, right? Next season is going to be fascinating from that standpoint. That driver market, the driver conversations is going to be rampant. You and I are going to be we're going to be busy, buddy.
It's going to be like last year when we kicked off the season with Lewis Hamilton.
And it's going to be worse. Like, there's going to be so much of it. It's going to be wild. Going back to George real quick. So I want to talk about his race. I thought did a nice job with the hard tire. As soon as George got that contract extension, he had struggled a bit in the opening of the weekend, a tiny bit. And, I was wondering, did he take his foot off the gas a bit because he's got the security now? Or, what's going on here? Yeah. And then you get into qualifying and you kind of see him just that switch just flips. And he goes to another level. Antonelli can't keep up, obviously, because he still has a lot to learn. And I've just been thinking a lot about George next season, what could possibly be. And I think for Mercedes, and the more I watch George and the more I get to go trackside to watch him, I just more and more convinced of this guy just being championship caliber. Because
that's by the way, not a lot of people are saying that, Tim.
I know, and they don't know what they're talking about. When I look at George and everything he's accomplished, he's won a championship in pretty much everything he's raced in. Mm-hmm. He knows how to get it done. Mm-hmm. And I think for next year, if Mercedes is able to give him a car, he's going to get it done. And it was funny. We were all sitting around. We should have had a podcast mic up is what we should have had. There's a bunch of us. We were just sitting around chatting about it. And we were talking about who would be the best drivers to go up against Max and actually push Max. And I said George Russell. And I was like, really? I'm like, all that stuff that happened in Qatar last year and then the fallout from it. I mean, yeah, they're not best friends, but I think George knows how to push Max's buttons.
Oh, yeah.
Get in his head.
Lando can't make Max mad. I think George
Oscar can't either.
But I think George pisses him off.
Yeah. George knows how to do it. I think George knows how to get in that head, right? So when we talk about championship caliber next season, I mean, it could be George Russell versus Max Verstappen. And at that one, for me, I would find that interesting because I don't think George would put up with stuff, man. I think he'd take him out if he had to.
I think he would too. I think George has got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a lot to prove. I think he's tired of being pushed around, and I think he's a dark horse. When we do our season preview in February or March next year, Tim, I think he's going to be one of those guys I'm going to be looking at least in the top 3.
100%.
Okay, so listen, anything else that you want to get to before we get to questions here? Because I'm going to pull them up.
No, let's do some questions.
Okay, so Tim, I do want to ask as I'm pulling the questions up. How tired are you right now?
Yeah, I'm getting there, man. So it's been a busy week. There's no question about it. I find with F1 weekends, my sleep is just forget it. I'm not sleeping. It's just I'll get 6 hours if I'm lucky. Yeah. because I'm working and I'm really passionate about it. And I always sort of feel like, Adam, I'm leaving something still on the table where I'm just like, did I listen to every piece of audio? Did I text every sort of contact? Did I do this? Did I do that? To make sure that I am so well informed enough that I can give that back.
Right.
And that's what keeps me up. I really just sit there. And so like when I get to these weekends, I have the opportunity to speak to people one-on-one, right? Face to face. And I find that when I do these weekends, I get so much more out of them. I get a lot when we're at home. I can still call people on the phone. I can still call up people, but it's just different when you get that face to face. It's just, and you just hear things and you overhear other things and you hear a group of people talking about things and you're kind of just hanging around and eavesdropping, just seeing what's up. And, it's hard to do that when, obviously you're not always on the road with it. But yeah, I always feel like when I'm on the ground, I got to deliver and I have to get everything I can for all the viewers on TSN and then for all of our viewers on SDPN.
Yeah. Well, dude, we appreciate it. Now, we do have one question, and I think it's an interesting one. And it has to do with McLaren. Okay. So the question is from Michael. Michael says, has McLaren gotten too cocky with their car? They were so dominant in the first half of the season, and they kind of decided it was good enough for one of their drivers to win the Drivers' Championship, or has Max and Red Bull just simply caught up by surprise?
Two things there. I think Max and Red Bull have caught up by surprise.
Okay.
But I also think that McLaren dropped the ball in not developing their car more. And I think for them, it was kind of the point where we have a really great car. It'll be hard for others to catch us. We can probably turn the taps off and focus on next year, which is a good initiative.
Sure.
It just didn't really work out that way because Red Bull found something. They figured out, built some updates, strapped into the car. They work. Their driver is locked in. He's one of the best in the world, or is the best in the world. And he's executing. The McLaren guys trying to find their way now with a car that's become a little bit trickier to drive by the sounds of it.
Yep.
And they got Max chasing them down. Max definitely in their head. So I would say it's a combination of things. It's not just like one specific thing. It never really is with racing. It's never just one thing. There are always other things that lead to this. But I would say they haven't gotten cocky with their car. I just think they made a huge mistake in turning the taps off too soon and not continue down the development road. Now, if Oscar goes on to win this thing by 2 points or whatever, you can look back on this and just be like, I mean, Max tried, Red Bull tried, they gave it a good effort. It didn't happen. Red Bull or McLaren's lucky. However, if this thing goes the other way, and like in Qatar, like Max is like leading or in contention, or tied in Qatar, which could possibly happen.
Yeah.
You and I are going to have a different conversation about this, right? It's like, why didn't they do updates? That question is going to be asked to Andres Stella. I can guarantee it. I think we just need a little more information on where their car's headed in Mexico and the next race as well. In Brazil.
You know what? This was a lot of fun, my friend. I want you to enjoy the last little bit of the Blue Jays game.
Here.
Yeah, I know you're watching, and get a good sleep. Gosh darn it.
Well, might have to have a few Beveraginos.
Yeah.
Just knock off the weekend, have a few beers, and get a good night's sleep, and might go do some hot yoga tomorrow, and I might go for a swim. We'll see what happens.
Good for you. Good. Yeah. And Mexico is on the horizon, my friend.
We
will talk to you on Thursday to get ready for the Mexican Grand Prix already. Can you believe it? And also, I would expect maybe some Checo Perez and Valtteri Bottas sightings. I know you hung out with Valtteri this weekend.
I did. I've got more stuff coming on that. It's coming.
We won't say anything.
This week. It's coming this week. People will like
TSN?
it. It's fun. It's on TSN. It's going to be great. You're going to love it.
Tim, have a great night.
Thanks, buddy.